All right, so today's class is all about the spine. So to start off with, we're going to do our spine cars, but we're going to do those in a kneeling position. So yeah, if you're comfortable kneeling like this, we're going to go in this position. If you need something underneath your ankles, like an ab mat, you can do that, or you can also sit on some yoga blocks or something. If this is really uncomfortable, then just do the standing version. Yeah. All right, guys. So from here, cross the arms, cross your chest, and we're just going to flex the spine. So round the back as much as possible. Now we're going to start to rotate to the right as far as possible. Now we're going to drop the shoulder, lean over. Then we're going to start to move into extension. So we're trying to arch our back as much as possible. Now we're going to lean over to the left and rotate. And back to the middle. Okay, 2 more this direction, guys. Make sure you're keeping your head still. So we're focusing on the thoracic spine and the lumbar spine, not the neck. So try to keep the head just neutral. And doing these cars in this position is making it harder for you to move your hips. So you could consider this more of a level 2 cars. It's going to allow you to focus more on the spine and prevent those hips from compensating. All right, guys, once you've done 3 that way, we'll go back the other way. Try to make it a nice smooth rotation. And just pay attention to any areas throughout the rotation that feel tighter than others. Yeah, guys, like I said, if the kneeling is too uncomfortable, you can just switch to the standing version. All right, guys, just finish off 3 on that direction. So we've used that sort of as a warm-up for today's session. All right, so next thing I want you to do is come to your hands and knees. And we're going to perform the cat-cows, similar to anyone who's done yoga, except instead of just moving everything at once, we're going to try to move from the base of our spine up. So first thing I want you guys to do is just fully flex your spine, so round it as much as possible. Now from here, keep your mid and upper back still. You're just going to start to tilt your pelvis and just start to arch your lower back. And you're going to make your way up, trying to go 1 vertebrae at a time. Through the middle back and your upper back, and then the neck as well. We will be moving the neck in this one. Now, once you're in full extension, so you're arching as much as possible, we're going to go back into flexion. So we're going to tuck the tailbone back under, start to flex our lower back. Make our way up through the middle and upper, and tuck the chin. Okay, guys, let's go for 2 more reps.
So with the spine, it's really important that we have movement at each of our vertebrae,
so that they can distribute the load evenly. So if you start to get sections of your back that don't move in one direction or the other, that's going to place more stress on the sections that do move.
and it creates what's called hinge points. And basically, instead of each vertebrae moving a little bit, you get one vertebrae moving a lot. And it's not strong enough to handle that, and that's when you can run into back injuries, slipping discs, and that sort of thing. So we really want to try and make sure that we get a little bit of movement throughout our whole spine.
So that's why we're doing this exercise. We're trying to go one vertebrae at a time. All right, guys, from here, I want you to sit the hips back like this. So now this is going to prevent your lower back from moving as much, and it's going to mean you have to focus more on the upper back. So again, we're going to do those cat-cows,
but this is going to focus more on that upper back.
So if you know that your upper back is tight,
then this is a good mobilization for that.
all right, guys, now we're going to shift forwards, and we're actually going to
Tuck our chin, place the top of our head on the mat. So now this is going to prevent our upper back from moving as much. So now it's going to focus more on the lower back. So again, perform flexion and extension, but your upper back is now blocked out. So we're going to focus on that lower back. So if your lower back is tight, this is a good variation for you.
All right, guys, so we're going to now move on to some stretches. The first stretch is going to be for spinal flexion, so rounding the back. I want you to sit down, bend your knees. You're going to hug your arms behind your legs. And now you're going to reach your spine back behind you. So you should get a nice stretch through the spine. Make sure it's not painful. We always want to avoid pain. And a deep stretch feeling is fine, but as long as it's not a painful sensation, like we feel like we're going to injure ourselves. So we're just going to hold this position for another 90 seconds. So with this one, you can target different areas of your back. So if I actually engage my lower back and try to straighten that out, then I'm going to feel the stretch more in the upper back. And then if I keep my upper back straighter, then I'm going to feel it more in my lower back. So it depends what you want to work on. Pay attention to where it feels tightest for you and try to target that area.
with these stretches, guys, you want to feel a nice deep stretch, but you don't want it to be so uncomfortable that you can't relax. So find that point where it's intense, but you can still relax into it. All right, guys, come out of this one. Now, if you have your foam roller, I want you to grab that. If you don't have your foam roller, then I just want you to go into a Sphinx or a seal pose. So this would be the seal. If that's too intense, come down to the elbows for the Sphinx. So if you do have the foam roller, guys, first thing we're going to do is lift the hips up and just place that roller at the lower back. And I want you guys to try to extend your spine over it. So you're trying to arch your back over it in that one particular spot that's on the roller. All right, guys, now we're just going to move a little bit further up the back. And again, try to extend over. Then move up a little bit further. Okay, guys, take that roller out. And just place your hips back on the ground and then put the roller behind the bottom of your rib cage. And now from here, we're going to try to extend over. Move up a little further. Now, if you're getting uncomfortable without the in the Sphinx pose, you can always just take a break. All right, guys, move up a little further. And one last time. If you want, you could also just reach the arms up for a bit more of a stretch. All right, guys. Next one, I just want you to take the roller behind the neck, and then you're just going to look side to side. All right, guys, you can take that roller out. And next stretch we're going to move into, just lie down on your back. You're going to hug your knee to your chest. Just going to hold this for about 30 seconds. I'm just going to adjust my camera. All right, guys.
From there, I just want you to move your leg across your body for a twist. So try to leave your shoulders on the ground. You don't have to force it, just let your knee fall to the side. I want you to take deep breaths. And with each exhale, try and relax 1 millimeter further into the position. All right, guys, come on out of that one, and we're going to switch sides. Hug your other knee to the chest to start with. Again, try slow, deep breaths. So when we're stretching passively, we want to try and relax the body as much as possible. So paying attention to your breath, taking deep breaths is going to help with that. All right, guys, take a deep inhale in. Bring your leg across and exhale. So always check in with your body. If you feel something is tense, try and relax it. If something's painful, you may need to back off. Every time you breathe, your rib cage and your diaphragm are going to expand. And then as you exhale, try to relax into that space that's left. Okay, guys, come out of this one. And we're going to move into a stretch for spinal extension. So Tanner, I'm sorry, you're going to have to do this one again. So we're going to do what's called the Sphinx or the seal pose. So the seal pose, you're on the hands. For some people, that's too intense, in which case you can go on the elbows. Or if some people need to be kind of in between. So what you can do is if you have yoga blocks, you can rest the elbows on there. So it's sort of an in-between. Or up on the hands, you can just walk the hands a little further out. So it's a little bit less intense. So find something where you feel a stretch, but it's not too painful. So guys, you want to feel a stretch in this position, hopefully in your abs. You don't want to feel any sort of painful pinching in your spine. You may feel a little bit of tightness in the spine, but any sort of pinching sensation, we want to avoid that. So if you do feel that, you may just need to come out of the stretch slightly, so like lower yourself. All right, guys, while we're here, let's do some neck cars. So tuck your chin to your chest, reach the chin to the armpit, look over the shoulder, drop the ear back, look up across the ceiling, look to the other side, back through the middle. Let's do 2 more this way. So sometimes when you're doing a passive stretch for one part of your body, you can be doing cars for another part. Let's go 3 the other way. All right, guys, and come out of this one. Okay, guys, next up, lie down on your back again. And I want you to bring your heels up by your butt. And we're going to lift our spine off the mat, similar to how we did the cat-cows. I want you to try and go 1 vertebrae at a time. And I want you to pay attention to the parts of your spine that you feel aren't moving as much. So if you feel like one big chunk of your spine move off the mat at once, then I want you to pay attention to that. All right, guys, so drive your heels into the floor and tuck your tailbone under and just try to lift your tailbone off the mat. Then start to move to your lower back. You're going to feel your glutes working, your abs as well. And just gradually move off the ground like a wave going up your spine. Paying attention to those areas that don't move as well as others. All right, guys, once you're at the top, as much of your spine off the mat as possible, then you're going to go back down the same way, 1 vertebrae at a time. This is a bit of a workout as well. You may feel your glutes start to burn and your abs as well. We're going to go for 2 more reps on this one. And going forward, now that you know certain areas of your spine that aren't moving as well as others, when we're doing those other stretches, like the ones with the arms behind the knees, you can try to target that area. And 1 more rep on this, guys. You may actually notice that you're getting a little bit more movement on the third one than you did on the first. Okay, so next up, we're going to come to a seated cross shin position. And guys, if this position is too uncomfortable for you, you can just sit in a chair or sit on a bench. So now that we've worked on our flexion and extension, so rounding and arching the back, we're now going to work a bit on our lateral flexion and our rotation. So first thing we're going to do is just take one hand behind your head and then reach the other hand out to the side.
David, do you want both? You want both of your hips to remain on the ground, like your sit bones to remain on the ground, or can the one side lift up?
Yeah, ideally, yeah, leave both your sitting bones on the ground. If you feel a better stretch with it lifting up, then that's fine though. But I imagine you'll feel more of a stretch keeping them on the floor. So with the spine, guys, flexion and extension are more important than lateral flexion and rotation. So if you're missing flexion and extension, that's going to limit your rotation and how far you can lean over as well. So you need to prioritize those movements before these ones. That's why we started off with those. All right, guys, let's switch to the other side. Come up and lean over the other way. So with our joints, some movements are more fundamental than others, basically because they determine how much space you have in your joint capsules. So if your joint capsules are limited, then all of the movement of the joint is going to be limited because there won't be enough space for the bones to move. So with the spine, flexion and extension are more important because if you're missing those, that means your joint capsules in the spine are limited. With the other joints, with all the other joints, rotation is most important. So, for example, with the shoulder and the hip, you need internal and external rotation. If you're missing those, then you're not going to be able to do any of the other movements like flexion and extension. Okay, guys, you can come on out of that one. So now we're going to work on a bit of rotation. So try and sit up as tall as you can. Then I want you to reach your left hand to your right knee, and then reach your right hand back behind you and twist. Try and take deep breaths. As your rib cage expands, it's also going to help stretch out the spine.
But remember guys, avoid pain. Don't push through pain. It's only gonna make your body try and protect itself and tighten up. All right, guys, let's switch to the other side. Actually, let's switch the cross of our legs as well. So put your other leg in front. And again, if this is too uncomfortable, you can always just take a seat in a chair or on a bench or something. All right, take the right hand to the left knee and reach the left hand behind you. When we're stretching, you can always adjust the position to what feels best for you. So everyone is different. We all have different tight areas. So if doing a stretch one way feels better, feel free to explore that. So with this twisting one, you could actually be in a bit more flexion and be twisting, or you could be in more extension and be twisting. Wherever feels better for you. All right, guys, come out of that one. We're gonna go for one last stretch, and then after that, we're gonna do our cars again, and then that'll be it for tonight. So our last stretch, we're gonna do the seated straddle. So this is gonna also open up the hips, but also target the lower back. So get your feet as wide as you can. And then just try to fall forwards down the middle. So if you're really struggling with this, you can always elevate your hips so you could sit on a pillow or a cushion. Another idea could be you can take a weight and hold on to the weight in front of you. For example, got this kettlebell here. I can have that out in front of me and use that for a bit of leverage. Or you could also grab a band and hook a band up to something and let the band pull you forward. So this one, we're hitting the inner thighs as well as the lumbar spine, lower back. All right, guys, now we're just gonna lean over to the right-hand side. So if you can grab your foot or your ankle, or even just your calf. So still targeting the spine, but also hitting the right hamstring now.
If you're feeling discomfort because it's a deep stretch, just try to focus on the breathing. Okay guys, let's shift it over to the left. Also guys, if you ever feel super uncomfortable in these positions, you can always come out and take a break if you need to. Sometimes you might start to feel a tingling sensation, or you might even start to go numb or get pins and needles. That means you need to take a break. And it probably just means your body is not used to that position and you haven't been in it for so long. And you're just not able to spend much time there yet. But the more often you visit these positions, the easier and the longer you'll be able to stay in them. All right, guys, and let's go back down the middle, almost done. So you'll probably notice you can go further down the middle now. So you may have noticed that we're holding these stretches for a long time. And the reason for that is in order for stretches to be effective at increasing our flexibility, we need to hold them for at least 90 seconds or more. 2 minutes is better, and if you can hold it longer than that, then that's even better. It takes that long for your body to pay attention to the signal that you're trying to send it and to actually open up. However, I wouldn't recommend doing these long stretches before lifting like a max weight, or maybe playing sports, because you're going into new positions where you're actually weak and you're not strong and you don't have much control in these new positions. So you don't want to really open them up right before intense exercise. But over time, you do want to open these ranges of motion up and build that strength and control, so then you have access to it and you're strong there. All right, guys, come on out of this one and just lie down on your back. Forgot to do the cars again, but that's okay. I think we've done enough for tonight. So pay attention to how your body's feeling. Maybe you've learned something about your body tonight. You've maybe picked up on certain areas that you now are aware need more attention. And it's important that we are grateful and celebrate ourselves for showing up and doing these sessions to look after our body. It's definitely uncomfortable at the time, but we have to push through so that in the future, we can keep our joints healthy and do all the things that we want to do with our bodies. Sacrifice in the short term for the long-term goals. All right, guys, that's it for tonight.